Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Grow Hour. Big Earl, how you doing, my brother?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm super stoked, but also Mr. Weedman is hurting. Mr. Weedman's back is broken, like Mike Tyson back when he boxed. My back is broken. Again, I broke my back. But anyway, Big Earl, I'm super stoked because we have a special guest on, Miss Riley Kirk. How you doing, Miss Riley?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super stoked for this conversation.
Nice. We're super stoked too because we're about to get baked. We're going to have our little smoke sesh. So I'm smoking in honor of Big Earl because Earl, I'm a pig. And I've told you this before. I'm smoking GG4 again, but grown by you. It is amazing. And I cannot wait for you to come into town and bring me all the different types of strains you grew with this GG4. I'm really super excited.
I won't have that ready yet, dude. I'm sorry to break your heart. It's going to be done, like dried, like the day before I leave.
It's all right.
I'll try to get you next a couple of them.
That's cool. I'm excited. What are you smoking on, Big Earl?
I am smoking on the Chem Cheese Haze, one of those phenos.
Nice.
Very nice mixture of all of them. This one is super excited about it.
And Riley, you smoked before the show. What'd you smoke on?
Yeah, we were just talking. I used my Puffco Peak Pro, and actually I was dabbing some hash, and it was awesome from Off-Grid Cannabis. He is so cool. You should definitely follow him on Instagram. He has the sickest like jackets that he makes that are like football style, but they say like Off-Grid Cannabis on the back, and they're like really cool colors. Yeah, he's just a really good guy. So yeah, you should definitely support him any way you can. But it was awesome. I feel great. And yeah, I'm vibing.
Love it. Love it. So you're a hash smoker. I'm a very big hash smoker. I don't really smoke any other concentrates but hash. What's your I'm
a flower person, like 95% of the time. I've just always loved flower. I love that it has, you know, that perfect like ratio of all the different compounds in it and whatever that plant wanted to produce. I think that's really beautiful. I call it the natural ratio of compounds. I feel like flower is it just reacts well with my body, but hash is my second favorite. And that's what I'll do, kind of more of a nighttime vibe sometimes, or I consume a lot of different ways though, like dryer vape. I will smoke mostly. Smoke like J's, blunts, bongs. Like I love to switch up my consumption method and just like keep experimenting with this awesome plant in like every way I can.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just nice to have options for however you're feeling, both like in flower and in consumption method.
Yeah.
Earl, you were going to say something, brother?
It just gives you a different feeling, like different strains, like or a different pheno even. If you've ever hunted like sisters of one strain, it's like they can be very similar, but they give you this different feeling. And like just the tobacco wrap instead of a rice wrap is going to give you a different feeling. Bong instead of a vape, whatever it is, it's all really nice. Switching it up.
Yeah, even like a hemp wrap versus a rice wrap, kind of like what you're talking about. Like I've really started to recently just explore those small details, and it does make a difference, especially as you like continue to use. Maybe you continue to use the same strain, but you switch up consumption methods, or you switch up your papers, or you know whatever you do. It's just kind of fun to control variables like that.
There you go. There you go. I would say Big Earl has a very, very good soiree of different herbs and stuff that he has grown. As long as I've known you, you have a very nice variety. I love it.
You don't put more than one of the same plants in your garden, and you don't have to worry about it.
Do you smoke other herbs other than cannabis with your cannabis sometimes, like lavender or something?
I've heard of people doing that recently, and I have never.
I
tried
don't
to
do
roll
it either,
a rose blunt,
but I heard other people do and have like interesting effects because like if you do smoke lavender, you're like boosting the amount of linalool. Like if you wanted, I've tried it once and I found it really harsh, so I never really went back to that.
Smoked a rose petal, fresh rose petal joint, and it gave me a headache really bad. Like so bad to where I was like, it tasted fine, but the effects of it, boy, was like rough.
I wonder if they're
rough. I'm like, I can never do that again, ever. And I know people smoke the lilac wraps or the sage wraps now. There's so many different ones that are out there. Some of them are great. I just like a good old fashioned joint. I like a good old fashioned palm. There's this new one I've been smoking. These palm wraps that are really good. I've been smoking them. It tastes like an old school punk that you would get from like the swamp. Like you'd light up and dry for 4th of July, and you'd light them all up so it keeps the mosquitoes away. That's what it tastes like and smells like. It's amazing. It keeps it's slow burns. I've been burning that a lot too. So, but I like them. But yeah, some of those flavored, like the rose one and all that stuff, man, no thank you. Just give me something that burns better.
I agree. And we also just like don't know what's happening when we burn these different plants at all. Like we kind of know with cannabis because we've studied it a bit, but we haven't really studied combusting these other plants like that. So
yeah.
Pesticides that go on them because they don't think anybody's going to smoke them.
Exactly. Yeah. A little scary.
So we have you on, Riley, talking about not your norm. You are cannabis kind of sommelier, maybe a cannabis doctor, a cannabis. I've watched a lot of your videos on YouTube. They're spectacular. You teach very well. You talk a lot about the plant. Tell us a little bit about that before we go into what this is not a normal cannabis episode, not even a grow hour episode. This is something totally off the cusp here. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about you though, and what you do and how you're fighting for the plant.
Yeah, definitely. So my background is as a natural product chemist. So, I've always really gone towards natural products, but when I was younger, I mean, still in my teens and into my early 20s, I was kind of like, I know nature has a lot of the answers, but like, I don't know why. I really want to understand, what's going on here, why there's so many beneficial components to using natural substances. And that kind of led me down this rabbit hole of studying natural product chemistry, and which is really actually a branch of pharmaceutical sciences that specializes in looking at nature as new sources of drugs. But we kind of evaluate it more in like a holistic sense of just like, why have people used nature over the last, ever as their main source of medicine? Like, and why does the current pharmaceutical industry still go to nature for their lead molecules? Like, what is happening here? And that's, I became a natural product chemist. I studied hundreds of different medicinal plants during my graduate studies. But really the one that I always went back to since I was 14 years old and started using cannabis is like, what makes cannabis so, so special? And it's really, the way it interacts with our body and that relationship we have with this plant. And towards the end of my graduate career, I started to really realize that where I was teaching, they were charging people so much money to learn about the medicinal benefits of this plant. I mean, like $7,000, like for a course about cannabis, medical cannabis. And this was around the same time the pandemic started. And I was like, I'm going to put this information out there for free because this is something I've been researching for a long time. I consider myself an expert in this subject. I've also been a stoner since I'm 14. Like, I really understand this plant. So that's when I really went to like the internet and was like, I've never made content before. I've never recorded my face before. Let's try it. And, I just put my phone in front of me, started recording videos on what I found interesting about cannabis and also what would help people learn about cannabis and how it interacted with the body so that they could use the plant better in a more intentional way or just a more medicinal way. And that just really took off on the internet. And I've been making content ever since. And I continue to research cannabis for a variety of different medicinal reasons, but also like fun things that our community just cares about, like how the size of your joint influences the amount of like CBN produced. Like, those are fun experiments to run. They're fun to communicate and they get people interested in science. So it's really fun. And
science.
Being a communicator is fun in the cannabis space because you just get to have that interface with like so many cool people in the industry. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're really good at it too. Like it's you've been. I forget the first time I messaged you, but I heard you on a podcast, and you do make all that information super available to people. It's really awesome. And it's fun to
Thank
follow
you.
you when people aren't following you.
Yeah, they're nice. They're quick, very knowledgeable, very to the point, but also like smooth. And you do different settings, different scenery, different ways of teaching because everyone learns differently. Pretty sweet.
Right, yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And it wasn't always that way. Like I used to make long videos that nobody cared about, and then I learned that nobody cares about that. So then I started to refine the way that I made content. It's a lot better now, but there's always room for improvement.
Everybody's got to learn. I remember when I started this show 4/19 of 19, we launched the first episode. Like right before, like we did the episode and then launched it on 4/20.
Love that.
And when we started, it was me, my son Paulie, Dovboy, and T, which were two of his buddies, and his girlfriend Shawty, who's still my producer. She's the only one that stuck around.
Shout out to Shawty.
Shawty. And the first 6 episodes was like our learning. It was brutal. I mean, we had content. We kind of had a little bit of a flow. We weren't quite there yet. And then all of a sudden they all left. They all left me. I was like, whoa, okay, this sucks. And then COVID hit like a couple months later. I was like, oh man, like 6 months later, COVID hit. This sucks. But in that 6 months time, I did a lot of research and learned and kind of like with the beginning stages of anything you do suck. But then you look back on those now. I look back on some of those things. I'm like, you know what? They weren't that bad, but there was a learning curve that went to where we're at today. Right? How many episodes you in now on YouTube?
30.
30?
Not too many, but I've gone a long time without posting. Then I was like, okay, I need to put myself out there. Like I need to keep making content. I was scared of it because I was bad at it. And then I was like, that's what keeps 99% of people away from doing this kind of stuff. Yeah. You just got to push through. It's like, it's cringy. It's terrible sometimes. Sometimes you're only going to get like 12 views on something. Yeah. And then you should just listen to that information and be like, why did this video only get 12 views?
Yeah, I feel
like why was this so horrible to watch? And then you learn, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And you get a little bit better every single time.
Yeah, I mean, what are we, 165 episodes on the Chronicles, 30 on this show. And then all the other content we put out, Earl puts out on his, and I put out on the Chronicles, and we have a shared one, the Grow Hour, and it's such a learning curve, and you make so many bumps in the road and so many mistakes. You're like, oh, that sucked, and I try not to re-record. That's the other thing. I'm like, listen, I just want this to be natural, you know. And Shawty, who does our producing, and she edits, but not much. Like it's just adding the music, adding, you know, maybe making volume louder or checking, you know, unless Mrs. Weedman calls me by my given name. That's like the only time we ever cut anything out.
Fair. Yeah.
So, because when you're stoned, sometimes you forget. But yeah, it's really weird. I'm just impressed, like with how your show, between your Instagram and your videos on your YouTube, it's not easy to grow. It is to do this as a whole. So I just want to say I'm highly impressed. You put out some great content. If anybody's listening to the show, go check out Riley so then she could throw the plugs afterwards. But there was another thing Big Earl wanted me to ask. He saw in a video of yours, you don't like to go by doctor.
Yeah. So at least I don't like to introduce myself as doctor, because I've met a lot of doctors that really like aren't, you know, really an expert in what they're talking about. And I feel like a lot of people have this fear of, you know, doctors of any sort. And I just want to have a good conversation. And then towards the end of that conversation, if you're like, man, how do you know so much about this subject? Then I can explain that it's my expertise. But I would always rather just go into the conversation, like just having a conversation. Like, I'm not the expert. It's just, I want to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. I don't like this dynamic of like, I'm the expert and you're listening to me. It's just not like how I like to communicate. So I don't ever introduce myself as doctor, but if it comes up that I'm an expert in a subject, I'm happy to say that I have my doctorate in that subject.
Hell yeah. You should be proud of that. Fuck, it took a lot of work.
I'm super proud of it.
Nice.
But I'm also just aware of how people perceive that. And it doesn't, like I'm still going to think of people the same, whether they're a doctor, a master's, or nothing. Like I don't care. So I hope people don't care that much on this
Sweet.
end either.
No, I love it. I love it. So this is not our normal show. We always talk about growing weed, and we have breeders on, we have growers on, right? I mean, and we're teaching people how to home grow, but this is something different. And we didn't want to just do the normal cannabis talk, because this is something that's cool and maybe people are interested in. And that's basically, and this is like really big in Earl's wheelhouse here. Big Earl's wheelhouse here is soil conditioning and growing your own food. So I'm like, I'm willing to learn, because I definitely ain't no fucking expert in anything I do. That's why I like to learn. I don't want to be called an expert in anything, because then once I'm an expert, I stop learning. So
Exactly.
I will never be an expert in cannabis, because that makes I'll stop learning. And I've gone to doing what you've done. I've gone to school for cannabis. I've done it all. And I'm not an expert, and I love not being an expert. So this, I'm definitely not. So Big Earl right. Big Earl he's got like 4 big fatties rolled for this show, because he's ready to learn and listen. So, do I know him? I know. Yeah. I know him. He rolled 4 for this show. And if he doesn't, he can roll and talk at the same time. That's how impressed I am with Big Earl. So Earl,
amazing.
Let's go. Let's talk about soil conditioning and growing your own food with Riley here.
It's so growing weed is like people don't call it a gateway drug. It is, though. It's a gateway to gardening and growing every other fucking plant that's out there, because they're all kind of the same. They all kind of go by the same basics. Some might want more nitrogen or a different atmosphere or something, but you hunt, forage, or grow 50%, 50 to 60%. I think I've seen both those numbers of your own food, which is awesome. And I think although it's not maybe directly correlated to weed, one thing that I love about growing your own weed is you don't rely on somebody else, because
I haven't bought weed. Actually, wait, I haven't bought weed from this dispo or anything. The only person I get weed from is me and that man right there. That's it.
But it's such a huge medicine. It's such a huge. It can be such a big positive part in so many people's lives for so many different reasons. And when you rely on these, like, I don't want to say all, but there's a big portion of like sub-moral, barely basically like large, crop mentality kind of cannabis out there. It's like it's taken away the option. Like, you had a better option 20 years ago because you could get it from Johnny down the road, but Johnny down the road now can't sell any weed because the dispo's got it for, but so I'm really excited. That's pretty badass. I think too, because that's like a goal I think that a lot of people have, and it's just like it's so fucking hard. Like
it is so fucking hard.
And
it takes a lot of time, and that I think is like one of the biggest factors that limits people, because time is so valuable, and it's not just the time you take planting and caring after like the food that you're growing. It's also the time of like preserving, which is actually like more time than almost anything. But I love what you just mentioned about a few different things. First, about growing your own food and like being part of that. And I mean, you were talking about weed, which I agree, you're independent on that. Like, no matter what happens, you're still going to have weed, you're still going to have your medicine, and that's awesome. And I think something to add to that too is like, when you grow a medicinal plant of any sorts, whether it's weed or comfrey or something else, you're watching that living plant like bloom as a plant. Like, you're seeing it grow, you're seeing it flourish, you're seeing it go through ebbs and flows of what makes it happy and not happy. And that really just kind of emphasizes the point that it's a living plant. Like, our medicine is a living thing that's interacting with our living body. And it's like this huge network of connections, which is so different than something like a pharmaceutical medication, which is a synthetic product. It's one single isolated compound, and then it's going to a living being, which is us. Here we have this beautiful living organism. We're taking in all of these different, different active components in it. Some of us react well to some strains and not to others. That means something too. Like, it's a really beautiful process that I just love with both the food I eat and the medicine I grow. I'm infatuated with it every day, just kind of watching it evolve.
Yeah. No, it's when you grow it yourself and you're doing it, especially when you can do everything organically, it's the quality that is there and the enjoyment that comes there is great. I mean, at least for me, it is. And I'll have like tomatoes on my salad and be like, yes.
You have control. Like you
Yeah,
legitimately know everything that went into growing that tomato. It feels so good. And then like you know there's no like pesticides or herbicides or any of these potential. I'm not saying that they're all over a grocery food. I'm just saying like you just know it's not in your food when you grow it.
Yeah. So before we get into some of the more meat and potatoes, I was thinking maybe we could go over, like, say I'm listening and I want to start growing my own food, and I want to start just like with a bed. How do you like to prep your beds? How do you like to start all that? Because like that definitely can be it's a huge factor in how you treat your plants and success.
Yeah, so I'll start with saying like we learn every single year. Like that's how we grow a lot of things is like we just try something and we see if it works. So what we actually tried these past couple years is we tried to make giant raised beds that are like 30 feet by like 15 feet by literally cutting down an entire aspen tree, like a standing aspen tree, fell the tree and then cut it to create a mega raised bed that is that essentially the size of what the tree was. So these were kind of our newest beds that we put in, and they're doing really, really well. But essentially, what we would do in this case is we cut down the tree, and then we actually peel the bark. We cut the trees in the spring, and there's an old saying up here in northern New Hampshire, like I don't know exactly how it goes, but it's something like, you can peel the bark when the black flies are biting. So you can peel all the bark off of like an aspen tree really, really easily if it's during like the spring when the black flies are still biting. So we peeled all these trees. We then, we actually put some old cardboard that we had down like over the grass because it was previously grass. And then we used a mixture of just like loam from our property, compost that we have composted the past 5 years, which I can talk more about like what we compost and what we don't compost, and then horse manure. And I'd say the ratio is probably like I don't want to say 80-10-10, but maybe somewhere kind of close to that. And we experiment with different plants every year. Like some plants do really well in that soil. Almost all of them do really well, but some of them don't. We've also learned, some plants will grow straight in the compost and some won't. Like if we have extra plants, we'll just put them right in the compost. And things like squashes and pumpkins and cucumbers, they can do really well. But then some other plants like, say broccoli or tomatoes don't always do that well in direct compost. So that's kind of what we've learned at least the past couple of years. And that's kind of our starting point and where we go from there.
Yeah. Every season's a little different. Every season's kind of like heartbreaking a little bit. Like this season, my squashes did really well, but my cucumbers didn't. So we got like 5 or 6 cucumbers, but my squashes are just like, giant, just they take over all the cucumbers plus all of them. Like they're just taking over and stuff. So, but yeah, that's
kind of cool though.
Yeah, I love it. I just let them. I just let them go. My peppers didn't grow. I don't know if anybody. My peppers didn't grow almost at all this year.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows like how different plants thrive in these different conditions. Though if we have a super super wet year, some plants are like finally like I've been waiting for this forever, and then some plants are like I'm drowning, please save me, and it's like cool. So this is how like the natural cycle would work with ebbs and flows of certain species in these different conditions, which ones drop seeds, which ones don't, which ones suffer for a year, just cool to learn.
Earl, I heard a few people talk about peppers this year. It hasn't been a good season. I don't know why.
I don't either. Like my pepper plants grew, they're maybe like 1 foot to 1.5 feet tall, have produced, I do a whole 4x8 garden of like 10 or 12 different pepper plants. I love doing all the spicy ones. I don't like them personally, but I like giving them to like my friends and being like,
and they're beautiful. They're always beautiful.
Oh yeah. And they're so easy to grow. They naturally like repel pests and stuff. Like you just kind of, But we've gotten a few bell peppers and that's it. Nothing spicy at all. Nothing like it is what it is. But do you use any cover crop or anything? You're adding the manure. Do you do anything for the microbiology?
I mean, we've added some straw during the winter. We add winter rye on top of our beds. That's kind of our winter cover crop that protects the microbiology and just kind of keeps it from like eroding at all, essentially. So that's kind of, and we don't do that over all of our crops either. It's really mainly like our corn, our asparagus, kind of just our taller plants. But a lot of our beds are just completely covered in plants because we have crawling plants like everywhere. So like our squash garden is completely covered because it's just, plants intertwined all over the place. And everyone's like, how are you possibly going to be able to like harvest those? And it's like, I don't know. We're just going to poke around till we find them. And it's worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's try to do as little damage as possible and get out of there.
Do you have a greenhouse? Do you have a greenhouse too, or is this strictly all outdoor?
This is strictly all outdoor. We started seeds indoor this year, and after that, we were like, we need to build a greenhouse because it was a pretty hectic spring in our house, just bringing crates of plants in and out every day for months. I mean, we had our last frost in like the second week of June, which was crazy. Like that killed off. I mean, it didn't kill too many plants, but it really, really damaged them a lot to the point where you're like, did we just destroy our whole garden? But it worked out. Everything was fine. But just shows how crazy it can be and how unpredictable it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can. It's, but, so have you ever, so I like to use a mycorrhiza powder. Have you ever used anything like that? Or do you like anything like that? Or is we can be done with microbiology or the soil after this. Or you just kind of let the manure do its thing?
No, we've never used a powder. I mean, I would love your opinion on if I should be using a powder. I'm always, hoping to learn more, but we use the health of our plants and also just signs when you're in the garden, like how easy is it to like weed plants? How do their root systems look when you do harvest like root vegetables? And I mean, we haven't had any significant issues, and using those signs, I don't know if I should be using this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've never used it outside. That's why inside I do like a synthetic method to where like I break down all my organics and I add it to my like heavily salted pots.
Oh, okay. So you use it indoors?
Yeah, I use it indoors.
Okay,
and it works really well because
that makes sense.
Yeah. But I never use it outdoors. But I've thought about it. I was thinking about it this year actually because I was like, these fucking pepper plants. It's just expensive,
Dude, worth an experiment. You could do like half of your bed with it and half without, and just see what happens.
A little bit there. Maybe I should. It's a little late, but maybe I should try.
Oh yeah. Next year, maybe.
Next year, some might go. But so with that, I think that was the Weedman. You want the canna?
Oh, yeah. We were talking before the show, before we recorded. Can you use the stuff you're doing for cannabis too? Grown cannabis outside?
Outdoor, absolutely. And I still have some like straight up guerrilla operation stuff going in the woods right now.
Good
I don't
for
even know
you.
if I should say this publicly, but I have to hike to my weed plants. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I use the same mixture that has worked with literally like every plant I've ever grown, and plants just seem to love it. So why would I change it? So it works with weed plants. It works with, hemp plants and THC type 1 plants and all of our veggies.
Nice. I like that. So you grow your own medicine. Love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I grow weed plants and I have a full medicinal plant garden as well.
Oh, that's even better. Nice. You got a little bit of everything. So your weed plants, how far away do you like have to travel to get to them? Because I thought New Hampshire would really be like, let people home grow by now. And I know I've been reading a lot of the laws that's going on and all the shit that's going on there, but man, you'd think that would be one state that would allow home grow.
I'm on the New Hampshire advisory board for cannabis, and home grow is like what is everyone's so passionate about it. We're like, we need home grow. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, they're like, we can't get that in this bill. And I'm like, then I don't want it. Like, I don't want this bill then. Like, we need a different bill. This is ridiculous. And you know that they wanted state-run dispensaries only?
Oof.
State-run?
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
The same state that's like currently, locking people up for cannabis. They want us to buy our weed from the state. Anyway.
There's a few other, there's actually a few other states trying to do that too, or actually are doing it. So it's like they're going off their liquor laws and how they run, because they're state-run stores for liquor too. So they're thinking it's easier to do it that way, which is actually a fucking terrible idea.
Exactly. That's exactly the mentality.
So
and it
so
really
terrible.
doesn't make any, especially because they're pro business, pro small business. But then how are we going to have an industry if it's only state-run?
Well, here's the catch-22. For the states for so many years arresting people and fining people and throwing people and locking away the key, and millions of dollars spent to stop the plant. Now they want to run by the state to control you. So there's the catch-22 in it all right there. It's all just a bunch of fucking garbage to me.
And honestly, the most frustrating thing is it doesn't have to do with what's safe, what's healthy, what's the best medicine, whatever, what the constituents want. It has to do with politics and who's going to run for office next year, and how you play this little game of chess to get everyone to, it's gross. It's
all
gross.
about control. I will not stop. I will not stop fighting and being Mr. Weedman until the plant is totally free. And I mean free to where everybody can grow, just like you can grow your own fruit and vegetable garden in your house. That's until the day. I will keep on fighting until that happens. It might be a long time, but I will keep on fighting. So, go over some of the different seasons, like how you were talking about how you condition your soil during the seasons, like how you put hay on it in the winter and to keep your soil going. How do you condition it, like different seasons, super generally, how the seasons change, and what are you doing to your home on your homestead to keep that? And how big do you have? Do you have a farm? Do you have a small farm, or is it just you have like a 2-acre property? You just grow your own. It sounds like to grow 50-60% of your own food, you got to have a nice little setup.
we don't grow 50 to 60% of our food. We either hunt, trap, garden, forage, or fish.
Love it.
To 60%.
All of it.
So
hell yeah.
The literal only way we're able to do this is by diversifying. Like if we would not be able to only grow it, we wouldn't be able to only hunt it, we wouldn't be able to only forage it. Like the reason we're successful is because we diversify as much as possible. And that allows us to not only have seasonality, but also to, have a variety of different vegetables and meats. So we don't get like bored of the same thing all the time.
Now, do you do a lot of do you have a cellar? Probably, because if you're, some of it you got to save and preserve. Do you preserve most of your food and cellar it? Yeah, we jar it.
We preserve a lot of food. We don't have like a proper root cellar. We just have like a normal basement, but it's a hectic basement. There's a lot going on.
You should see Big Earl's hectic basement too. Go to fucking Michigan, see Big Earl's basement. It's pretty hectic there too. So I understand. I only got a small little room, one little tent that I grow, but Earl's, I understand. If it's anything like Big Earl's, I get it because I've been there.
I love a good hectic basement.
These things are getting done.
What's that word? It's organized chaos.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Organized chaos is a great word to use for hectic.
Yes.
I can't stand hectic because it's not hectic. It's just organized, but it's also chaos in both. You know what you're doing because you've said it to yourself, but it's a little chaotic at times, right? Organized chaos.
I know where everything is. It's fine.
That's it.
All that matters.
Yeah. I mean, so we do have a lot of canned goods in our basement. As I kind of mentioned, part of what is very difficult about the, quote, homestead lifestyle. And we don't really consider ourselves homesteaders. We're like, I don't know what you call us, but we're not full homesteaders. We don't deserve that title yet.
That's the goal. That's the goal for a lot of people.
It is our goal.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Weedman's goal.
Yeah. And, I think we'll get there someday. But I mean, for now, we're just learning and doing our best. But we preserve like a lot of our vegetables from the garden. We can that. And then, we have a whole freezer just of meat that we harvest. So seasonality, what you're kind of just talking about, fall and winter is like meat harvesting season for us, whether it's deer, black bear, moose, if we get a moose tag.
Hell yeah, you got some meat then if you get a moose.
Yeah, and then our main source of meat is beaver from beaver trapping. For both us and our dog.
I've never had beaver. How is beaver? Is it good? Is it gamey, tough? I've never had it before.
It's not gamey, and a lot of the gamey flavor that people talk about is really just from like leaving excess fat on their animals. Like not a lot of animals actually do taste gamey when they're prepared in the right way. But
nice.
It's not gamey. It actually tastes like a really nice cut of beef. Like
let me take back the gamey. Maybe because when I mean gamey, I mean it's like freshness to me. It came from the wild. Some people think gamey. It's got that taste, that off taste, because they're not used to fresh fucking meat. They used to fuck an antibiotic filled fucking cow and get it. I understand. I've eaten enough of it too to understand that taste also. But when you eat fresh venison, it's not gamey. That's just the taste of eating something.
But
they're eating natural. It's a unique
taste. Flavor. I know what you're talking about. That fresh and there is just an additional flavor to wild game in general that something like store-bought beef doesn't really have, and it really has to do with that like wild diet that the animals do eat. So sometimes when we do go to other people's houses and we try beef, like we're like, wow, that tastes really, really different.
Yeah, 100%
than what we're used to eating. But so that's kind of our fall and our winter. We're really harvested on, we're really focused on harvesting as much meat as possible. And then spring, we really focus on some of the wild forages like ramps and fiddleheads, morels, kind of these staple spring foods. And then summer is just all about preserving the garden. And of course, eating the garden fresh too, because you got to enjoy that as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And then, throughout the year, we tend to have just about enough food to have almost the majority of our food that we eat from the wild.
What I like is no waste. You're foraging for food you need, not overeating and over foraging or over buying from a store like most of us do. And then that food just sits and gets old and you throw it out in a year because you didn't use it. You're eating as a survival need. You're eating to live, not living to eat, as I like to call it.
And I mean, food waste.
If we all lived that way, we'd all be a lot healthier like they were in the fucking 40s, 50s, and 60s. This is a different story, though. Sorry, it's for another conversation. But I'm just saying, you live to eat, not eat to live. There's a big difference when you learn that. Your body can survive without food for a hot minute. I've done 21 days fast before. I could do it. Your body can do it. Okay. I fast for 21 days. I intermittent fast every day now, 5 days a week. Stop eating at 9. Don't eat again until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I only need a certain amount. If I'm not burning 2,500 calories a day, see, you're in my wheelhouse again, just like Rachel at Deep Roots. This is my wheelhouse. I've studied this for years. And if you don't need to eat with your body, if you don't expel it, it just stores as fat and you get sluggish, you get slow, your body, your mind. Why do you think COVID ripped people apart? All the overweight people that are overeat, it ripped them apart because you eat to live. That's it. Food is just a commodity that you need to survive. Do I like good food? Fuck yeah, I like good food. Do I like going out for a good meal? Yes, I'm not saying that. But we consume so much that our bodies don't need and we don't burn that food off. It's terrible. Sorry, go ahead. Next. Sorry about that.
I mean, I agree. And it's also just like we understand the energy and effort that goes into food. And you won't waste food when you understand that. Like if we're trapping a remote beaver pond that we had to hike 3 miles in there with a bunch of gear and then, set up for 2 hours and then hike back out and then do the same thing the next day, you're not going to let a little scrap of meat go. Like that meat has a story and, you put a ton of time and effort into that meal. It's like, it's so valuable.
Yeah, it's great because you also worked for that food too. you hiked 3 miles. 3 miles.
Talk about burning calories. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 miles, if you're walking it, you're taking 15-minute, 20-minute miles. Let's just say you burnt about 1,000 calories just to go get your food. And then you got to trap it, hunt it, do all that work too, set up camp and then walk back. You're talking about a good calorie day there. So you're keeping also not just getting your food to live, but you're also keeping your body healthy by getting the exercise it needs, the sun that it needs. the fresh air from probably the tons of pinene that you're smelling out there and keeping
Oh,
your
yeah.
body fresh
Oh,
and
yeah.
healthy because you're getting good, fresh, clean air, oxygen, plus all the different herbs and everything you're smelling in everywhere because your nose tastes it all from your olfactory gland. That's how you get everything in through your nose first. So you're breathing all that heavenly earth in, and it's keeping your body nice and clean.
You know, your nose has over 400 unique receptors, and it's estimated that your nose can smell up to 1 trillion unique smells.
I will
That
say
is crazy.
I agree with that, but my German Shepherd Yuki can beat us all. That
Yeah, okay,
fucking
we're nothing
dog's
compared to a
nose,
dog.
that dog's nose catches me off guard sometimes. I'm like, I just can't believe you fucking smelled that, and it took me like 5 minutes
Yeah.
to smell that. So she gets us all beat. So I'll have to send you.
Dogs
I'll have
are
to share.
amazing.
I'll have to share a picture of Yuki. So she's my baby dog. Anyway, so let's go. So Earl, you've met her. It's just I spoiled that poor dog ride. I got to send you a video, Earl. And I'll post it. I don't know if we follow each other, Riley, or not. I'll post it. She taught herself. Now I've taken her to this Camp Lake now a couple times. This is her 3rd time being there. She's a full-grown 18-month-old black shepherd now. She loves the water. She's a water dog, and there's nothing better than a water dog. And she loves being on a boat. So we started off in like 1 to 2 feet of water, throwing the ball. That fucking dog taught herself how to swim this time. She went to the deep and would not come back, and all she was doing, Earl, 4 or 5 feet of water, man, just trucking along. I'm like, Yuki, get over here. You're making me nervous. I'm not coming out there to get you. Mama, just going the whole way. Just fucking learning, teaching herself how to swim. Just fucking doggy paddling. I was like, God, that's my baby dog right there.
Not today.
Oh,
My
shit.
dogs are not like that. My dog, we tried to canoe with him over the weekend.
Yeah, as you went canoe, tell him the story, man.
Tipped me immediately. I had all myself in a bag, luckily, but like the boat was sinking. I had to grab my one dog because he's like just freaking out, kind of. My beagle's got a life vest on, but he's still freaking out. I got like spray. He was awful.
Earl tried to bring 3 dogs.
He was trying to jump around. The other 2 just laid there. He was trying to jump around and shit. Oh my god, dude!
What a nightmare.
You think you would have started off with 1? You went all in on 3, yo.
Let's see how 1 goes.
I came walking up out of this lake carrying this canoe full of water, and I had my dog on the other hand. And this lady's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna try this again," because my wife's out in the lake with her sister and my other dogs. Like it was a wild time, but it was fun.
Oh shit!
But it was fun.
I saw the picture. Canoe and we didn't tip again.
See, you taught him. There you go. Yeah, you learned each other's balance. So and the dogs didn't want to go back in again too. So they were like, "Fuck this, man. We're not moving like a fucking church mouse. We're staying right here. We're staying like a church mouse." So Earl, what's this quick note I was reading on our notes here?
Oh, it was about, we were talking earlier about how much hate you got when you talked about trapping and hunting.
Dude, I don't even talk about trapping. I wouldn't even dare to do that yet on Instagram. But I just showed a picture of a turkey that I had hunted. And
nice. You got some tags, huh? Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it was great. It was a great hunt. It was an awesome day. And, I posted something like, my harvest of this turkey today, whatever. The amount of messages I got was like, I follow you for weed content, not dead animals. And I was like, whoa, I've said publicly many times that I hunt, I trap, I forage, I garden, I say all this stuff, and I'm not just saying it. like when I share a picture of that, that is part of what makes me a healthy person and what makes me part of feeling comfortable living the life I do. And if you don't like that, you absolutely don't, you
just skip it.
Follow me.
No, it's not, if you're listen, everybody needs to live their own life. Okay, you choose the way you want to live. You want to eat meat, you eat meat. You do it in a humanely way for survival to live. You're not. There's so much I could say about this, but listen, if someone's upset that you trap for your food to survive, but you also grow, you eat clean, that vegan or person who's upset that just all you got to do is just like what's that Tinder? You just fucking flash. You just go, go to the next one. You swipe up, right? For Instagram.
Instagram, yeah. You swipe up.
Just swipe up. Just swipe up. Just swipe up. If you don't like what someone's posting, but you still like their other content, there's always something somebody likes or doesn't like what you post. That's what fucking you put yourself out there on social media. If someone's going to like what you do, someone's not going to like what you do. But they might like 90% of what you do. That other 10%, I'm not saying everything I post people like. I'm sorry if you do, and I'm happy if you do, or I'm sorry if you don't. You know, just scroll up because there's something else that you posted, Riley, that they might like. They don't miss out on the other stuff that you're teaching because they didn't like you. You trapped a turkey.
I agree, but to me, if somebody does get that sensitive about a subject like that, I'm okay with you not being part of my network too. Like, I'm just like I think you got a lot of learning to do if you really can't even see something that you don't agree with. And maybe the internet's like not the right place for you right now too, because there's going to be different opinions literally all the time on the internet. And my husband actually, he asked me, he's like, have you ever seen someone else's social media content that you like reported or hate commented on? I'm like, never. I would never. Like, I respect all people making content because it's hard. And like, thanks for putting yourself out there. I'm learning something from you. I would never like report and whatever people are doing. It's crazy. It's madness.
The only time I ever block anybody is those people that ask me like, hey, DM this for 1,000 likes. Then I do. Those are people I gotta block because it's just annoying to get those. But everybody else, it doesn't matter.
Are those even people though? I think they're robots.
Probably. That's why those I block. But everything else, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
It's particularly ridiculous with this situation too, because it's like, even if you're a vegetarian, even if you're a vegan, if you're going to the grocery store and buying food, people, the average American farmer isn't out there killing a turkey in a season. They're killing every single animal around their farm. They're killing every bit of soil that they have and just turning it into a barren dirt. They're killing like ecosystems, literal ecosystems, because they don't want to have to deal with the backside of that, and because that's how they've been taught. And so to be upset, so even if you take the extreme person that's like, I'm a vegan for the most moral reasons, it's just a really ridiculous thing to me, because it's the vegetarian, really, if you look at it, probably kills more than somebody, especially somebody living like you, who's like we already talked about, taking like the bare minimum and not like, like so many people who are overindulging in everything, really.
Right. So. And like, as you're saying, like, yes, like large farming practices definitely kills, more small animals than pretty much any other practice ever. But like, as far as when we're harvesting, say, a beaver or something, not only are we definitely using the best management practices that are based in science, they're based in this animal being abundant in our environment and us being able to harvest a certain amount of that population each year. And again, using best management practices. And we use, 70% of the live weight of that animal, which is.
I was going to ask you too. How much did you use? I was about to ask you that.
So I'm a scientist. I'm a naturopathic chemist. My husband's a wildlife biologist. So we're data people. We want to track data. So we, as far as like what we're trapping, we'll record, the date we harvested it, how much it weighed, male or female, and then like the percent of, usable product that we get off of that animal. So not only are we getting meals, our dog is getting fed as well. We use the leather from the tail. We sew with the fur to make garments for ourselves and others. We have domestic beetles to clean the skulls. I mean, we're like really not wasting much. And that 70% is including like the intestine of the beaver, or of the animal, I should say, which pretty much nothing will eat. If you leave like a carcass out in the wild, almost nothing will eat the like innards of that.
Of a beaver? Of a beaver?
Of animals in general, because intestinal tracts are just like heavy with parasites and bacteria and things that can make animals sick.
That's different what I learned about lions in the wild. And now I'm kind of stoned. Lions go for the intestines first, I was always told. Is that true? That's what I read and saw.
The intestines?
Yeah, they go for like where all the like maybe the stomach where maybe the grass still has, because they don't eat, they need that to help go to the bathroom. So a lot of them go for that first because they need that. Yeah, they go for like that whole area. They go for like the greens that the the zebra have been eating, let's just say, or that's their main diet. So they go for certain areas of that body to get some nutrients they don't get just from eating meat.
Cool. I did not know that.
I learned that. I think I learned that
from
from David Attenborough on one of his fucking many thousands of nature shows I've watched in my life. So
watching that stoned is like the best thing.
Nothing
There's
better.
nothing better.
No. I could get as high couch locked as I want and put on one of his animal shows. Actually, even the old ones from the Disney, the ones they did in the 50s and 60s when Technicolor first came out, I still go back because fucking I got Disney Channel and I go back. That's what I watched. Those old 1950s and 60s are the shit. When you're baked, you're just like, oh, remember, this is like my childhood. But learning when they first started learning about animals, because it was first time you ever saw anything on film like that, to now you see today, because David Attenborough got a new one. And I just watched his whole new series is out. I mean, now it's like snow leopard. You're just like, this is amazing. And the colors and the way they're doing shit now.
And the quality of the film, how I don't even understand. Like, I can't even get my YouTube videos look that good, and they're recording a snow leopard in the middle of the mountains in like triple HD. It's amazing.
100%, 100%. So, but yes.
What were we talking about?
It's amazing. It's amazing. So. But I'm so happy to hear that you use. I know Earl's going to ask this next question, but 70% do you use? That's fucking good shit right there. So go ahead, Earl.
Yeah.
Do you use like the blood in your garden or like the bones or anything in your garden at all?
So, beaver season runs from like November to February. So it's like usually snow or really cold. So we don't necessarily use it in our garden, although sometimes we'll put it like in the compost area and then hope that it just breaks down over time and adds to that. But for the most part, we kind of just recycle it back into nature and give it to the predators in the area that are really struggling at that time of year and give them something to gnaw on and give them some nutrients and help them survive the winter just as that animal helped us survive the winter.
Got to give some of it back. That's amazing. Yeah. I say this to people, and I've said this on the show a lot. If we don't take care of Mother Earth won't take care of you.
And she's taking care of us. She's doing a lot. So
there you go.
We got to do something.
I like it.
Do you do like any like corn meals or worm castings? Do you buy anything from like a store, or do you pretty much just for your gardens to feed it?
No, not really. No.
Manure,
yeah.
and more manure.
Manure is amazing. It provides just everything we need, at least.
Yeah.
But our manure is also very old manure. It's like it's been kind of like sitting and maybe turned for like 8 years or something. So it's not really hot manure. It's been rained on. The nutrients have been dispersed over time, and then we kind of mix it up in the garden as well to try to even out. And we grow things like comfrey, which are amazing. They have like a really really deep taproot, so that allows some nutrients to kind of get accrued in the leaves that some other plants don't have. So as far as like comfrey, you can take the leaves and bury it directly in your soil, and that will also kind of contribute to adding more of the minerals and stuff that you might not get enough of just through your normal compost or whatever.
Yeah, pulling it up. That's pretty cool. I did a plant juice for the first time this year. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, where you like steep plants in water.
Yeah, like a plant tea. Yeah, I've definitely done that.
It's the only fertilizer that I used out there. I wish I'm still perfecting it, so I wish I would have used more, but it was pretty awesome.
That's cool. What plants did you use for that?
Weed.
Oh, you used weed to make the... Okay.
So my thought was, in that juice, I could be taking out some enzymes from some parts of this super vigorously growing plant and try to get that into my outside plants. Because I had heard of people using like different stuff like that and really fast growing plants to try to make trees and cactus and stuff grow faster.
Cool.
Yeah, I can tell you that my squash loves it, and my tomatoes are going nuts. And I did already grow a whole round of autoflowers out there, and I didn't add shit besides that. 1 5-gallon bucket, stuffed as much as I could, and then put water in it and let it sit for like a month or something.
Man, have you had like the rainiest year ever in Michigan?
It's been rainy, and my theory on why my peppers aren't growing really well is that I think a little bit the fire from Canada has been blocking out some of our
Oh.
available sun. And so like days haven't necessarily been like super dark and cloudy, but we've had a couple days where like seemed like overcast, but it was just smoke.
We had a good like 3 weeks where it was just hazy. The sun was there,
Exactly.
but it wasn't like it
Yeah.
has been the last couple of days where that sun is bright as can be. This was like a clear haze for like a good 3 to 4 weeks to where that sun wasn't really hitting that ground as much. That's why I think that autoflower I grew outside too didn't get what it needed, Earl, too. It didn't. I mean, we got big. I mean, the buds, the coals were as big as my face, but didn't grow super tall. They stayed at about 2 feet tall, you know, and I think they didn't get, I mean, we put them out there pretty like right on time too from, you know, germinating them inside. But I mean, I thought they would have got monsters out there, but yeah, I think that could have been a reason why too. We didn't get that height, you know, because growing autos, you got to think what Alabrije was telling us too, you know, that you can give them 18 to 24 hours of light. So if we're only giving that autoflower 12 hours at half, 70%, 60%, like the rays coming down and hitting that thing, you lost out on that grow. So that makes sense too, Earl, about your peps.
Yeah, that's why, because I know peppers really love like a really hot, sunny day.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, we've had hot days, but and not even really that many hot days, honestly. It's been like
We really have
80s
not
here.
had that hot of a summer. Like
Not
at
until
all.
this fucking Wednesday, Thursday. It's gonna be 103.
Is it really?
In Chicago.
I shouldn't say that. Actually, Arizona was like absolutely. Wasn't it like 120 degrees?
Oh
for, like,
yeah,
a really
yeah.
long
But
time?
you kind of expect that in Arizona every once in a while. I mean, it gets
That's a
hot
good
there,
point.
you know. But
That's a
it's
good
gonna be
point.
fucking 103 here in August. That's fucking the end of August, like late August. That's hot as fuck.
That's hot. That's really hot.
And
said
don't they ever
90
say in
Yeah.
Arizona too? It's dry heat. It's dry heat. Yeah, motherfucker, you can cook a steak on that fucking that black top.
Instant sweat.
Yeah. So what to teach our listeners, you know, across the globe here, they to provide themselves 50 to 60% of their own food. Do we miss anything that we went over? There's something else that we need to like throw out there, something else besides being persistent and consistent and persistent on doing it too, because it does take consistency to be able to do what you do. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna have to work until like 11 o'clock at night. A lot of nights, like during like beaver season, we are prepping meat until like 11 o'clock at night every single night. Just like freezing in packages, you know, cutting up the meat, and then we have to also deal with the fur, which takes longer than the meat, and then you know, prepping our dogs' meals. So definitely, take the time, give yourself the time. It's going to take a lot of energy, but it's going to be worth it. And then my number one thing is diversify. And that's my recommendation with everything. When people ask about like compost and stuff, diversify. Different microbes will eat different things. And if you provide as many different things as possible, you're greatening the chances of a microbe wanting to eat that thing. Like even you look at like fall leaves as an example. Like even looking on the ground, you'll notice that oak leaves are going to get eaten a lot slower than something like a beech leaf or something. That's the same thing if you were to put that into your compost. You don't want to put all oak leaves or they're going to take a really long time to break down. Instead, you put a diversity of different leaf types, and then you're going to have some that go really fast and then some that go a bit slower. And that's the same thing with harvesting, you know, meat and vegetables and all these things. Listen to the seasons. You know, what's abundant that year might not be abundant every single year. You know, and start to learn from the seasons too. Like, when is the best time to harvest fiddleheads? Is it the same time every year? Is it a sequence of events? Like, hey, once the ramps are up, you know, you have a week until the fiddleheads are ready. These are things that if you write down things, it's really easy to start to learn over the years, and to really, seasonality is just kind of second nature. You can feel things are about to happen. So it does take time, but like, take the time. It's a beautiful process. And if you're already buying everything from a grocery store right now, you have nothing to lose. So you might as well try at least one thing. You can try to harvest just one thing and see how it goes. Maybe it's like literally just blueberries. Maybe you go to somewhere where there's blueberries, or elderberries or something like that, and then see how you like that. How long did it take to prep that? How did it feel to take that as a medicine or to cook with it, or, whatever. And then slowly start to expand over time. Maybe try one additional thing every year and keep recording it, keep learning from it. And soon you'll become more and more independent, but there will always be things to learn.
Yes, that is true. Very true. Especially, you know what I like? That you go out in the forest and you like grow your own weed, like out in the forest somewhere. That's fucking awesome.
Have to.
I love it. I know. It's fucked up that you have to, but I also like it because I had some friends. I should say I still have some friends in Kentucky that grow up in the mountains, and they grow every year and they do their harvest up in the mountains, and they got to travel for their weed. But at the end, it's yours. You know where it's from. You know what area you're doing. Do you pick different spots? Like
No.
no. Oh, from an from an old school 51-year-old, change it up every once in a while. Like move to a different spot. Just like
that's a good idea.
Have 3 different spots and never do the same one twice. Just
I hope the different spot is going to be my garden, because New Hampshire is going to legalize home grow. let me know if you need any help shouting it out when that new bill's coming too. So we talk a lot on the Chronicles about the laws in all the states and what's happening in each state. So, every time we do a show a week, so we make sure that every state's getting it. We're not just a Chicago podcast. We talk about the world in cannabis. So same thing with Big Earl. Same thing with Big Earl with we do with the grower. We've had people on from Spain. We have people on from all over the world coming on. So I mean, it's not just about one spot. It's a global plant. This plant was given to us. Whatever you believe in, I still believe there's angels in those leaves. So Earl, you got one more question though, right?
Oh yeah. What do you have coming up? What you got planned for the rest of 2023? Anything fun?
Sounds like to me, trapping, baby, trapping for those beavers. It's coming up, right?
Real
soon.
Trapping.
You ain't wrong. I mean, that's definitely gonna happen.
And you right, Earl. Trapping, the real trapping, because trapping ain't easy. Riley gonna come out with a hip hop song. Yo, trapping ain't easy. Yo, going for that beaver out in the woods.
And it's gonna be me in my like wool jacket in the middle of the woods. So yeah, that is coming up for sure. But so I mean, I'm kind of doing more of the same stuff where I currently, both I teach in academia, I teach graduate cannabis courses, but I also have my own podcast that's all about kind of making cannabis science accessible and cool. But it's not just about cannabis. It's also about other natural products. It's about pharmaceuticals. It's about toxins. It's about how things work in your body with an emphasis on cannabis. So most episodes are about cannabis, but then I sprinkle in some other ones just so people can kind of learn how these different things like affect us in different ways. And then I'm still doing science, and I'm working with some really cool companies and brands. I have a project going now with raw rolling papers. That
Good for you.
Actually, yeah, it's a smoking experiment. So I'm really excited, and I'm going to share that on social media too once we finish the results and stuff. But that really has to do with how CBN and THC, how these ratios change during the smoking process, and essentially how you can change the way you roll up depending on what you're really targeting for an effect there. So stay tuned for that. And then, just doing some more science communication stuff all over the internet. And that's about it.
Well, tell everybody where we can find you at.
Absolutely. So TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are all Cannabicam, CANNABICHEM. And then my podcast is called Bioactive with Riley Kirk, and that's me. So, yeah, that's on all streaming platforms too, including YouTube and Spotify and Apple. And yeah, I think that's all the places that I am.
Love it. Love it. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show. Big Earl, you got anything else to ask Riley?
Yeah, I have 2 questions actually. First, do you want some have you ever grown autoflowers out there?
No, I've never grown autoflowers.
I'll send you some if you want some.
Quick, easy.
I would love some. Yes, that would be amazing. I'm actually going to try an indoor cultivation for the first time too. I've never done that, so I might need to hit you guys up or just listen to every episode you've ever made. to get all the deets on that. So I'm kind of excited to experiment in that realm.
Big Earl's been great to help me out. He helps out a ton of people across the world. I mean, since we've been doing the show together, we've had some friends in Australia get his grow. He's got great breeder friends that he's done collabs with and has used some of their stuff. He's good resource. So I'm a newbie to compare to him. I mean, just fucking masterful, the stuff that he grows. Take a look at some of his pictures too. It's just like, and you're welcome. And his genetics takes a lot of heart, a lot of care. I've grown some of my monstrous buds I've gotten from him, and just always available on his DMs and stuff like that too. We have a little chat too with a bunch of people that are always asking him questions and knowledgeable and really helpful. So yes, please go to Big Earl and ask. He's phenomenal. So just been my mentor and coach since we met 4 years ago. So it's been good stuff. So, but Riley, we really appreciate you coming on. We're super stoked. I cannot wait to see some pictures of your harvest and all that kind of stuff. I got to follow you on and see what you post too on. I want to see. I've seen some of your YouTube videos, but I want to see your farming and your harvest and what you do more on that. That's what I'm interested in. That's like so dope.
It's super cool.
I know. I'm always struggling with the balance of how much of that to post because it is, if a bunch of people are like, dude, I don't care about this, you're like,
start another one. Start another one and just do for that.
I really should.
I mean, I
don't even have to think about it.
Right. I have 3 Instagrams. One is my personal, one is my fucking the Weedman 420 Chronicles, and then the third one's the Grow Hour. And that one could be like, hey, listen, if you don't like to trapping, this is my cannabis only one. This is for the other people that want to learn about homesteading and learn about how we live. I'd follow that in a heartbeat because I want to see how you do it.
That exists.
Oh, it does?
That does exist.
Oh, okay. So email me that so I can find you on that one because I can't remember right now.
I'll put it out here. It's New England Naturals is the name of it, and we're on TikTok and Instagram.
There we go.
My husband makes a lot of that content. He's an amazing communicator, and as I mentioned in the beginning, like trapping is just as stigmatized as cannabis.
Well, she still could be talking. We'll find out when she comes back on. So,
am I still here?
Yeah, there you are. Perfect. Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
You froze for a second. We're good. So go ahead. So the Naturals by your husband. So that's great. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
When we log off, when we stop recording, I want to get my phone out and find you right away on that because I'm interested in that too. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
What I was saying when I froze is just that like trapping is just as stigmatized as cannabis, and he's a wildlife biologist. He's extremely educated in the science behind trapping and hunting and like why these regulations and this really exists. So I think he's like the best communicator in the trapping space. So
that's right.
I mean, I'm on there sometimes, but not that often because people are like, aren't you the terpene girl? And I'm like,
hey, you speak Terpenese, we like you. I speak Terpenese all day.
And then I'm like, yeah, I still am the terpene girl too. I live 2 lives.
Oh shit. All right, everybody, we're gonna go. Big Earl, you got anything else to say, my brother?
Yeah, I don't forget the CalMag, guys. That's really all you need. You want to do anything, get the CalMag.
Riley, do you use CalMag?
Nope, I don't.
Well, here's what we got for you. Don't forget the CalMag, everybody. Peace.
Don't be me.
That was great. Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.